All right, so a question posed to me by a friend of mine through LinkedIn who's a combat veteran and who saw significant time in Iraq was, do you ever struggle with the feeling of being used by our government um, with the war in Iraq? And this has been one that's been something I've had to contemplate thinking about, but wanting to also stay true to myself and authentic to myself and to everybody else. Yeah, I have struggled with the feeling of being used by our government for what was done in Iraq and how it's transpired to this day. There was periods of time, especially early on during my PTSD therapy, where I had a range of emotions that I had never one really felt before or been connected to or expressed. And anger and resentment and frustration with our government was one of those. I think the way in which to deal with it, or the way in which I dealt with it, was expressing it, letting that bitterness get out and talking about it. And then what we can do today, because I could let that bitterness continue and resentment and anger and let it fester and become the disgruntled veteran that, is, the cliche out in the world today. Or I can do this, I could talk about it, I can express why my feelings were like that and what decision I'm going to do about it. I think we need to educate and inform and inspire our leaders today and in the future to hopefully evaluate the decisions and the true purpose and motives behind the decisions they make to get our sons and daughters in harm's way in other countries and invade other countries. If it's for greed, selfish ambition, ego, and power and manipulation, then it's not the right reason and they need to be held accountable. If it's in defense of our freedoms and it's in defense and response to a justified attack against us, then okay, I understand that justification, let's do it. But I think until we talk about it and discuss it and are able to evaluate it, it can allow for that negative effect to happen, that resentment, that bitterness, that harbor of anger to subside and to stay in us and to root and to take hold. And that does no good for us or for the generation that's leading today and the generation that's going to lead tomorrow, because we've got to affect the leadership today from our combat veterans to say, hey, this is the consequences. This is the totality of what you're getting ready to put your sons and daughters into. And you need to know that. And we need to exhaust every diplomatic means possible before we're getting ready to send our sons and daughters into war. Because it's fun and dandy to talk about all of these war cliches. But if you have no skin in the game, if you have no son or daughter that's actually going to go over there, then you really don't know what you're talking about. And you don't know the significance of the impact. So that's where we can talk about it. We can make sure that our pain and our feelings of unjustness for the reasons for doing it aren't used in vain, but they can be used for good for the future, so that we can stand as a nation today and inform our leaders of the consequences once they make those decisions to put our most prized possessions in harm's way. That's my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are.